Welcome to Coachability, the practice of leadership with Shauna Griffiths. Welcome everybody. Welcome to Coachability with Shauna Griffiths. I'm your host, Jason Wilson. Today we're going to have an amazing conversation, as always, right, Shauna?
As always, we do our best, folks. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And if you're out here on the left coast, it is very early, so grab your coffee and get ready.
Yes. Happy Wednesday, everybody. We just have a couple of announcements before we jump into today's conversation. This weekend we have Freedom Fight Expo for mental health, and the topic is PTSD and suicide prevention. So we have an amazing event planned with 10 speakers that we're featuring over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We have topics ranging from childhood trauma to how to overcome PTSD and grief. So it's going to be informative, it's going to be exciting, inspirational, and I can't wait for that. Shauna, can you go?
Yeah, absolutely. So Jason,
Can you
I just want
participate?
to, yeah, Jason, thank you so much for the for this opportunity to have this conversation and for the work that you're doing this weekend that you were just announcing. And, I think there's such a range where mental health is, affects people and where different factors affect people's mental health. And so, I think the more we bring it to the forefront, the more it makes it okay to talk about and to integrate mental health practices that help our mental health, especially as leaders. And so, this is part of why we're here, folks. Today, we wanted to, in the spirit of what's going on with September. September is Mental Health and Suicide Prevention Month. I think I said that correctly.
That's
So,
correct. Yes.
Jason and I were just talking about the two things that we do, the various things that we do. And so we wanted to dedicate this conversation to honoring, this month and mental health. And, I so much focus on leadership and helping you all to be set up for success in your journey of leadership. And that is a crossover between your life and in business. This is obviously LinkedIn, so a lot of this is going to be aimed at, at business. But, first and foremost, we're human. And so, the human condition really gets affected by what's going on in the world, past experiences. And when you're in a seat of leadership or trying to strive for a seat of leadership, I believe that there is a responsibility to keep an eye to your own mental health, because
Yep.
leadership starts with you first, right? You leading yourself first, because that's when you're actually more fit. In my leadership athlete language, you are more fit to lead others if you can lead yourself first.
Absolutely. And so again, you stopped me in my tracks. You made me reflect for like 2-3 hours the other day. You sent me another awesome video from Simon Sinek, and the conversation was about friendship and community and what that does to your mental health. So, it was a phenomenal video. We're going to put that link to that video in the comments on this broadcast. But let's get into that conversation. Um, One of the questions was in that conversation, in becoming successful in your
Mhm.
career, have you had to sacrifice your friendships?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting because I think so many times in business we hear people talking about sacrifices they've made. And a lot of times it's almost like this badge of honor, like, oh, I've
Right.
sacrificed this or that, or I'm tough and I've been able to do this. Or it's not even naming the thing. And that was one of the things that Simon Sinek mentioned is like, if you're going to sacrifice something, and it was with Trevor Noah, folks. And again,
Right.
as Jason said, we'll put the link in. But they were both talking about the reality that a lot of times those things go unnamed. And it is a lot easier to say, I make sacrifices for my career. I make sacrifices to make more money, those type of things. But when you say, I sacrifice my children, I sacrifice my time with my children, I sacrifice the quality of my relationship with my life partner, it has a bit of a different ding to it. And it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, and that is when you start to hear yourself say those things or hear other people say those things. That's when I think it's a bit of a like, a like a wake up call or reality check? Is that really what you want to do with your life? Because you only have one shot at it, as we know. I will say, as
Right.
I know, I believe. So, again, like this concept of on our journey as business people, especially, we say we're going to sacrifice these things. But again, as a leader, it's actually important for you to have community and friends. And one of the biggest things I hear from people I coach or people I consult with is leadership is lonely. Well, folks, it doesn't have to be. And a
Mm.
lot of, like, we're talking about friendship and connection, which actually helps to offset isolation, helps to offset loneliness. And so these are things where there is a degree to which mental health is a chemical, if you have challenges with it, it's a chemical imbalance. And I say this not as a mental health professional. I say this as a person who does coaching. I have been very open about anxiety that I have dealt with over time. And for a long time I wasn't dealing with it and I was masking it, and it
Mm.
was I really think about it, Jason, and sometimes I'm like, damn, if I would have asked for help, and we're going to get back
Uh-huh.
to that in a second, if I would have allowed myself to go to my doctor sooner and say, I need help that I don't know how to help myself. And he said to me, I don't know how you're not on anxiety medication. I don't know how you're functioning. But if I had
Wow.
done those things sooner, then I really feel like, gosh, my family, my friends, my staff would have gotten a better version of me sooner.
Hmm.
So I think that's something for us to keep in mind, is that, like, the more we talk about it, the more it becomes okay to make time for yourself, to make time for your mental health, to seek out these resources and be open about it. And the stigma, while it's dialed down, it's still there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the points that they were making too, is that, if you don't have a therapist, and maybe, if you have a group of friends, or maybe just one good friend that you have, that can make a tremendous difference in your mental health.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah. So that's one of the points that I really wanted to focus on with Circle of Friends Club, is helping people to expand their circle of friends, but also give people a safe space to talk about issues like, going through anxiety and depression, PTSD, which is what we're going to be talking about this weekend. But just having just one person to go to and talk about what's going on makes a huge difference.
It really does. And, something else that they talked about in that video, again, we'll drop the link, is that there's an element of that we often feel like I'm a burden. If I call you Jason and I say, Jason, I'm so down about something, I reach out to you. I feel like I'm being a burden, so I don't do that. But here's the
Mhm.
thing, like, Jason I'm actually kind of robbing him the chance to be present for me. And if we're truly friends, then that's part of like an unconditional support system. And so, I think it's just really important to consider, are you allowing yourself to ask for help? And one thing that Simon said that Trevor Noah was like, whoa, wait a minute, say that again. And I'm going to do my best to repeat it. Which is about, you don't build trust when you offer help, you build trust when you ask for help.
Right.
And it really is. It's like, oh, I was actually talking to a woman yesterday. Someone had connected us on LinkedIn. She's in a job search mode. And I just, my friend tagged me in it. And so I reached out to this other person. I just replied to publicly and said, hey, if you want time with me, just DM me and let's chat. And I talked to her yesterday, and she was like, she expressed that, like, I feel like I'm a burden. I don't want to just call people and ask them for help in my job search.
Right.
And so I was able to share this with her. I was like, okay, but here's the thing. I'm not coming to this conversation wanting anything other than to help you, to do anything I
Yeah.
can, because here's the thing. I've either been there, my friends have been there, or someday I'm going to be there. And folks, I've been there twice in the last, 5 years, when I found myself, because of, the global conditions, laid off. And it's like, so
Right.
again, by she allowed me, by actually reaching out to me and asking me for that time that I had, she allowed me to be present for her. And so again, think about that. We don't build trust when we offer help. We build trust when we ask for help. And here's
Mm,
another thing I was thinking about, and I'll just be super transparent on this.
sure.
I'm always so transparent. What am I talking about? Over the past 5+ years, I've continued to have a health issue, not the mental health issue. I address that as well, but so a health issue kind of stemming from when I had COVID, and it's been hard for me to at times know how to ask for help. What do I need? And I don't, and there's I'm looking for medical professionals to help me kind of figure things out, but it's also like my partner, my husband, my friends. Like sometimes I'm like, gosh, I don't actually even know what I need, but I need support. And so
Yeah.
sometimes it's like we do have to figure out how to say the words out loud, because energy doesn't lie. People can tell something's not okay within you. And sometimes people are like, they would like to help, but they don't exactly know what to do. And they're kind of uncomfortable and that kind of thing. So again, folks, if you're having a challenge and it is impacting you, finding a way to put words to it, to the people who are your friends, they're in your community, they can be there for you if you ask them. And it's okay to even say, you know what, I'm going through a really hard time and I don't know what I need, but I just want you to know and that your support matters to me. So if sometimes I was actually walking in Whole Foods I was walking in the entry doors of Whole Foods the other day, and I was actually having a really sad moment related to my father's passing back in February. And I was
Mm.
feeling so down and lonely, folks, lonely. I was all by myself. And out of the blue, I start hearing someone going like, Shauna, Shauna. And I'm like, who the hell is calling my name in the middle of Whole Foods? But I turn around and it is a woman who I know locally in the Denver area. And she was with her 3 little kids. And I was just rushed with this feeling of like just presence and things was going to be okay simply because I was seen and someone was present for me. So it's just an example of like it doesn't have to be a huge thing that we do for others,
Right.
that we ask of others. Sometimes it's just like call my name, send me a message, shoot me a DM, whatever the thing is. But it goes both ways. And one of the things in the video they were talking about is like working on your friendships, working on the community. And I don't necessarily that means like sitting down and having this like super deep conversation about the quality of your friendship, but I think it can be, as Trevor Noah was talking about a bit. But working on your friendship is the thing where it's like, oh, I thought of you, Jason. So out of the blue, I was thinking of you. So I actually take the action to message you and say, hey, Jason, you came to mind like out of the blue. So I just want to send you like a virtual hug. Again,
Yeah.
that can be working on a friendship. And then, in that, hey, what's going on with you? Is there anything I can do to support you? These are things that we kind of, what they were talking about in the video is that like people don't really, we're not taught how to be friends per se, other than
Yeah.
like your toys when we're kids, right? But over time, and especially as adults, is all the things that we're facing, the noise, the distraction in the world,
Mm.
political coming at us constantly. Again, it's like learning to find the words. I talk so much about like evolving as humans and evolving in leaders. This is part of it, folks.
Yeah. And one of the things that they brought up too is that pressure to be successful and showing that to everybody in your network and your friends and everybody else. That can be one of the things that stops you from being vulnerable and getting these feelings of frustration and depression and anxiety out of your system. So that pressure to be successful and trying to hide the vulnerability and all of that, that can destroy your relationships too. Because if those people haven't heard from you in, let's say, 5 years, that can damage the relationship.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, it's relationship, which is about being transformational, not being transactional. And
Yeah.
that transactional thing is, hey, Jason, I need something. I haven't talked to you in 5 years, but blah, blah, blah. But again, the working on the relationship is seeing your posts, liking it, commenting, like reaching out, like, when I need help, again, like building trust by saying, hey, Jason, I'm going through a hard time. I just want to let you know, or something to that effect, folks. So we just thought it was really important to bring this forward because these are part of elements that actually can help support mental health. And so is friendship and community. But, again, sometimes it's not talked about a lot. Um, and so, other things that I think are really important in how do you support your own mental health is, again, talking about it, your friends. Do you work with a coach? And yes, I am a coach, so yes, I'm prone to say that, but I will say I've worked with a coach, Leslie Harris, for over 9 years, and I know that being able to get through some really freaking hard times has been because I had an outlet. I was like, oh gosh, I'm going to talk to him in 2 weeks, or I can send him a message. And so, again, like that person who is actually trained to help you on your pursuit of optimal performance in life and in business. So consider that as are you investing in yourself? You're constantly
Mm.
pouring into other people, but invest in yourself. There's some protection there. The other thing is, and again, they talked about this in the video, is like if you're a leader, so goes the business and the people as the leader goes, right? So if you're a leader and you're hiding the fact that you're vulnerable, that kind of thing, like folks, you're probably not fooling anyone, including yourself. So be open. Like, wouldn't it be a
Right.
great thing if people can see each other's calendars now? If I'm the leader of an organization and I write like therapy and I protect that time, or time with Jason, and Jason's my friend, and I put that on my calendar and I protect that time and I don't move it because a business meeting came up. Again, it's like if we're doing this and we're setting this example for the people in the business who are in our care, folks, then they're seeing that, oh, I know it's okay for me to protect my health too. Or when's the last time you saw a leader say, folks, I need a mental health day? We say that
Yeah.
to staff, right? And sometimes people as staff, they're worried that they're going to actually get like chastised, or they're going to get ridiculed for taking a mental health day. These are things that are, we've come a long way, folks. And I often talk about sports, and I have the mindset leadership athlete that's related to optimal performance on the field of play is very similar to optimal performance in business and in life, like the work that you have to put in. You look at Simone Biles. She took that break to honor her mental health, and then she came back better than ever. And so it's like, what are we doing in that vein to really help ourselves? And it is a practice, just like we talked about in sports. It's a practice, folks. That what are you doing every day? What are you doing to protect yourself, to set yourself up for success? What are those resources that you have? And when you do take care of your mental health, you're more present for yourself, you're more present for others. Prioritizing things and is easier because you don't have so much noise, and you're not in constant fight or flight mode, which, again, as someone who's dealt with anxiety, it's like that fight or flight mode, or you're not in that depression mode. And, again, like as go the leader, as go the business, as go the people. And here's a thing, folks. I've worked for people who were in leadership seats who didn't check their mental health. And then everybody else is kind of left to be in their wake. So your mood swings go up and down, you're depressed. The people around you as your staff are like watching, right? They're like, oh God, what version of whomever is going to, what version of Bob is going to walk into the office today? That is a very hard place for people to work. That's a very hard environment.
Yeah.
So again, like it is a responsibility. If you're going to be in a seat of leadership, it is your responsibility to tend to your mental health, because it does impact others. And like I said, like energy doesn't lie. You're not fooling anybody, certainly not yourself and not other people if you don't. And I'm not saying anything, but here's the thing, folks. It is hard at times to take care of your mental health. Again, I fought for years not getting as much help as I needed because I wasn't kind of ready. So we have to figure out, how do we get ourselves there? And that's part of this conversation. I'm not saying that you're a bad person, or, I'm not bringing negativity to that challenge of being ready to take care of our mental health. I'm just bringing it to the forefront so that we're talking about, it's not like, oh gosh, I'm feeling this way, so I know exactly what I'm going to do now to fix it, or to help myself. And so again, like the more we talk about, the more resources. Jason, the amazing work that you're doing, opening that conversation, creating community for folks. Eric Cusin is another one in this space with Same Here Mental Health Global Movement. Who you knew? I was so excited to hear that you knew who Jason. I
Yeah.
mean, Jason knew who Eric was. It's the more we talk about it, the more we feel it's normal. It's normal to feel abnormal mentally. So again, I think it's the other thing I want to talk about actually is I was kind of thinking about like coach. Do you have a coach? Do you have friends? Do you have your community? Also, folks, think about like what are you air quotes consuming? And I say this because I had to look at myself and say, gosh, what are the things that I'm doing that are actually contributing to me feeling anxious? And I was like,
Yes.
oh God, doom scroll, social media, you know, and spending too much time on that, spending too much time, consuming everything that's going on politically.
Mm,
And those are just some examples. So a couple of years ago, I started saying, okay, I need to replace that. What am I going to do to replace that activity that I was doing? Actually, something that can make me better. And as part of Leadership Athlete, I have a philosophy of like trying to be better than ever yesterday. And so I started practicing my Spanish. So every morning,
okay.
instead of going to my phone and doing, my doom scrolling, I spend time on Duolingo practicing my Spanish.
That's great.
And 621 days later is today. I did my Duolingo this morning.
Awesome.
But again, this is how I found the video actually, Jason, that we've been talking about, is because I was like, okay, wait, I'm still catching myself doing that. And how am I going to continue to make myself better for myself, but for the people that I'm working with, for all of you, is to learn new things, to listen to other people. So I was looking for the thing to listen to and I found this video. And that was what I did in that moment because 5 to 15 minutes, folks, matters. Five
Yeah.
to 15 minutes. Are you spending it doom scrolling? Are you spending it like just, watching the news cycle? Or are you actually like listening to a podcast, reading something? I was like talking to a friend, Heather Maxwell, who's amazing. I had her on my show. This was Shauna Griffiths last week, actually.
Uh-huh.
And she was telling me a story about her friend who said instead of doom scrolling, she reads 15 pages in a book. And I was like, oh my gosh, how great. You're going to get through a book. You're going to gain that knowledge. You're going to, again, so what you're consuming from a media, from a knowledge standpoint, as well as the other things that I talk about quite often about what you're consuming is how you set yourself up for your success every day. Literally, like, what are you consuming? Are you eating and drinking things that are like, beneficial to you or not? Are you moving your body? Are you being creative?
Hmm.
Are you using art or music or something like, or dance or something like that to inspire yourself? So it's the countering the things that actually contribute to not being healthy with your mental health, or are you actually doing things that are contributing to helping you practice every day to add to your mental health in a positive way?
I had an interesting conversation with a colleague from university, and he said that, he's been in the entertainment industry for the past like 15 years. And so he's run into several actors that have told him that, they haven't been encouraged to take care of their mental health. As a matter of fact, it's kind of looked down upon to do that.
Oh
Because they're
wow.
in this leadership position. They're in the public eye. They have to look a certain way and portray themselves a certain way every single day. And they just don't have the time to invest in that. And when they're discouraged from doing it, I mean, what do you do for your mental health in that case?
Yeah. I think here's the thing, folks. We need to prioritize our mental health.
Yep.
So if it's that leader who is caustic, toxic, not taking care of their mental health, and you are in that person's fray, whoa, hang on a second. You have to protect yourself. And that's part of it is is we have to do what we can to help ourselves with our mental health, but it's also like seeing where other people are operating that are actually causing damage. And there's a bit of responsibility there too. It's like, just like your career is your responsibility, there is protecting your mental health. I think there's a degree of responsibility there.
Mm.
And so, if you have other people who are around you and they're actually discouraging you from taking care of your mental health, those are red flags, yellow flags, call them, whichever you want to call them. But it's
Right.
interesting because I here's kind of three phases I talk about is in the growth journey, and is one is self-awareness. If you don't have self-awareness that you're being negatively impacted by someone who is discouraging you for prioritizing your mental health, like that then that's a huge problem. If you're aware of it, that's one thing. That's a step. That's like, congratulate yourself. I am aware that this person is not actually going to be healthy for me. I'm aware that this environment is not going to be healthy for me. And as we talked about in our last episode, Jason, or maybe it was one before, like, you cannot, like, a flower cannot
Yeah.
grow in poison soil. Humans cannot grow. You can't
Right.
heal where you are being hurt. So, again, it's like, if you have that awareness, congratulations. The next thing is deciding what are your, like, seeing what the options are and then making some decisions. Okay, I am going to work with a coach. I am going to go to my doctor. I am going to not doom scroll, do my Duolingo, whatever the things are. But that's only number two. The third thing is taking the action. Because we can say till we're blue in the face that I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. That's a lot different than I am doing it. I've placed the call, I've set the meeting, I've protected the meeting, I've put it on my calendar, I've protected that time frame, and I'm not going to let it get pushed. Again, it just comes to like, what are you doing for yourself? And again, it's awareness, deciding upon options, and then taking the action.
Well, I think those are great options for somebody that, has been in their job, let's say 10, 15 years. And with the current job economy right now, it's tough to find a new job.
It
I mean,
is.
people have put in like a hundred something applications in every single day and haven't found anything. So,
Mhm.
in a case where you feel stuck in your job and you're not advancing, your mental health is suffering, those are some great suggestions for somebody in that position. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I'm really glad that you brought that up because that is something that I've talked about several times in the last week or so with a couple of different people I'm working with. Whereas that I'm stuck, but I'm also scared. I'm
yeah.
fearful. I can't leave this job right now because the job market, all these things. So here's the thing, like, okay, that's awareness, right? And then that's a start of like, okay, now let's look at all the things that you could do to prepare yourself, to protect yourself, to start, what skills can you start gaining, what can you do to, if you feel stuck, you probably don't feel very inspired. So what are the things that you could do to feel inspired? What are the things that you could do to galvanize a support network around you during this time? Because it's not realistic just to be like, oh, I'm going to bail on my job right now and then have, no income and everything. Like, it's not realistic for everyone.
Right.
So again, if you're in that position, start to like pay more attention, be curious about what you become aware of, then what are your options to help yourself during this time and building toward that next role, and like, you don't actually the best time to find a job is when you have a job.
Yeah.
So,
That's
and
right.
then, and if you go about it this way, then chances are you're going to move from a place of strength versus a place from fear, versus a place of fear. If you are moving from a place of strength, it's about abundance, it's about possibility, creativity. Moving from a place of fear, we literally like crouch, our shoulders crouch down. So if you want to go for a job interview or you want to have conversations with people about possibility, what version of yourself do you want to be? You want to be the person that's like, let's go, possibility, all of those type of things, or is it like this? So again, these things are very connected to mental health, what you're doing, who do you surround yourself with, what are you consuming, what is that friend network. And here's the thing, like, your job's not going to save you when you're in challenge, right? But who's going to be there for you? And not that your friends are going to necessarily save you, but the friends and the community that you build and the prioritization that you put there, that will last a lot longer and be a lot more invested in you as a human, than a job will, than a place of work.
Absolutely. So speaking of friendship, we have a mutual friend, Chasen Forehand,
Ah,
through
yeah,
which
love
we,
him.
yeah, me too. Um, through which we actually met. We met. Actually, I saw you on one of his programs,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, and I reached out. But if you have not met Chasen Forehand, ladies and gentlemen, he is the founder of HR for You. They help people to find living wage employment. I was just on his show last night. It was a wonderful time on his program. And if you have not met him yet, ladies and gentlemen, Chasen Forehand, look him up on LinkedIn. He would be glad to meet you, talk to you about everything that he's doing to help his community and people in the world in general. Wonderful guy.
Yeah.
Another friend, I don't know if you've met him yet, Shauna, Mike Asherbrenner from the Hounds of
Uh-uh.
Business.
I have
Okay.
not yet, but I
Okay.
will.
Yeah. 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 Today,
Yeah.
I'm going
Okay.
to make an introduction to you.
Today. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
On LinkedIn. Another wonderful guy. He is the owner and founder of the Hounds of Business, a business community. They're doing some wonderful things as well. I actually met Chasen and he introduced me to Mike. So,
Mm.
we have a wonderful circle here. And yes, I'm going to make those introductions. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our program for today. But Shauna, do you have any last words for our audience?
I think the biggest thing I would say is, again, like, honor your mental health, folks. Honor yours, protect yours. And if you are pursuing leadership, if you're pursuing your own leadership and your pursuit of optimal performance as a leader, remember that the business and the people are in your care. So there is a bit of responsibility there. And again, resources are out here for you. The work that Jason's doing, Jason, thank you. The work that Jason's doing, he's doing great work. Eric Hewson's work that he's doing, folks like coaches. I'm a coach. You can reach out to me. There's a ton of resources, but seek friendship, seek community, nurture it, and learn how to ask for help,
Yeah.
and put words to what's going on. So that's what I have to say. Thank you so much for joining,
Awesome.
everyone. And Jason, thank you so much for our time.
You're welcome. So, speaking of resources, let's talk about the Freedom Fight Expo real quick. So, ladies and gentlemen, this weekend, starting on Friday, September the 20th, 21st, and 22nd, we have our Freedom Fight Expo Set Free from PTSD. Again, we have wonderful speakers lined up. This is especially for people that are suffering from suicidal ideation as well. You're going to be inspired, you're going to be encouraged. And I think the most important message that you should come away with is that you're not alone in this fight. You have support. You actually have a community through Circle of Friends Club. We're going to be giving out some free resources at this event as well to help you out with some things, some practical things that you can do to overcome any challenges with PTSD or suicidal ideation. So you can scan the QR code that you see here on the screen that will take you to our website, where you can see both transmissions that will actually be live streamed here on LinkedIn as well as on YouTube. So take a moment, do that, and we will also have some additional information for you in the comments on this particular episode. All right. So, Shauna, it was a pleasure, like
Thank you.
always, having you here on the show. And we will be back next week with another wonderful conversation.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and wonderful weekend. Take care. Thanks for watching Coachability with Shauna Griffiths. Don't forget to like, share, and comment, and subscribe for more post notifications. See you next time.